Hello everyone. So in today's video we'll be discussing about the if-else conditions in Python. So let us begin. So the overview of this video, we'll see what conditions are, we'll see what the elif statement is, the what else statement is, then we'll see shorthand if else, nested if and pass statement. So conditions, so we all have seen about this when we were seeing operators. So these are all going to result in Boolean values. So there is equals condition which is given by double equals to, not equal which is written or which is symbolized by exclamation and an equal to symbol which is read as A not equal to B. Then we have less than equal to, greater than and greater than equal to. So equals will of course return true if both the values are equal, the left hand side and the right hand side. Not equals is completely opposite to equals, so not equals will return true when they are not equal. Less than we all know, less than equal to also we know. Similarly greater than and greater than equal to. So if statement is the most simple decision making statement, and it decides whether a block of statements will be executed or a single statement. It can be either multiple statements or a single statement. So the example for this is if we have A as 33, B as 200, and we are giving the if condition where if B is greater than A, then this statement will be executed. So B is greater than A, 200 is greater than 33. So in this case, the print statement will be executed and B is greater than A will be printed. So this is how the flowchart is for if condition, where you have a condition. If the condition is true, then a certain set of statements is executed. It can be one or it can be many. And if the condition is false, then you reach the end of if. So after if, it can either be any normal statements or you can have elif, which we'll see. But before seeing elif, let's just see an example of the if statement using the Python code. So we'll take a simple, we'll also see the different conditions which we saw in the earlier slide. So let's say if A is 10 and B is 10, then we can give an if condition. If A equal to B, you have to give a colon and then you have to print, or you can put any statement. So I'll just put print they are equal. So if I run this, it is printing. If I change the value of B, it will not print anything at all. So this is because the print statement is under if condition. Now again, like we discussed in one of the earlier videos, the indentation is really important over here. If I do not give this space, I will get an error. So I'm getting an error because after if statement is written, the block of statements which are supposed to be inside the if condition, they are supposed to be indented. So I can either give one space or multiple spaces. So even if I give like 3 to 4 spaces, it's fine. So here they are not equal, that's why it won't be printing. But once they are equal, it will print this. It can be multiple statements also. Second statement. So these two statements will be executed only when this condition is true. So right now it's true. So if I change it to not equal to, it will be false. So not equal to is true only when both the sides are not equal. In this case they are equal, that's why it's false, and the block of statements will not be executed. So if I put 11 and 10, they both are not equal, that's why if condition is true, these both will be executed. Similarly, A is greater than equal to, again they will be executed. Okay, they won't be executed because A is 10 and B is 11. If I put A is less than B, that is true. So that's why they will be executed. So that is about if condition. It is pretty simple. And now we'll go back to the presentation. So the elif. So elif in Python is the short form for else if. So usually in most of the other programming languages you might see else if instead of elif, but in Python it is shortened to elif, which is just else if. It's exactly the same use. So it is used only after if statement. So if you are not giving an if statement, then you cannot use an elif. Or if you are giving an if statement somewhere different in the program, and then after a few lines of code which are not outlined by the if you write elif again, you'll get an error. So it should be after the if statement as a continual condition to the if. So if the first condition is not executed, then it will check the second condition written inside the elif. So it works like a second if condition, like I said. So in this example, we have the if statement like usual, like we have seen before. Now b is greater than a. So in this example, b is not greater than a since they both are equal. That's why the first print condition, the first print statement will not be executed. Now it will pass on to this statement, the elif statement. Since the first if was not it did not contain a true value, the second if condition or the elif condition will be checked. So over here now a is equal to b, it is true, then it will be printed a and b are equal. So that is how elif condition is. You can also give multiple elif conditions. Let's say if you have a third condition, a fourth condition, all of these will be checked if the previous one is false. So this is how the elif conditions work. So you have an expression or a condition. If it is true, then whatever statements, whatever block you have or whatever you want to print, those statements are executed. If it is false, the second condition is checked, the condition which is written after elif. So the second condition is checked. Again, if it is true, certain statements are executed. If it is false, the third elif condition is checked, and so on. So once again, if the third elif is true, it will have some statements inside the block. Those will be executed. If it is false, then you have else, which we'll see what it is exactly later. So this is how the elif flowchart is, and in the end, after execution of the statements in the block, it will go back to the main program, and whatever statements are below the complete if block, those will be executed as usual. So we'll just see this in the form of code. So now here, if I'm taking a1 equals to 15, b1 equals to 20, now I'll give if a1 equal to, okay, there's no bracket, if a1 equal to b1, then print equal elif a1 is greater than b1, print a1, and then if I write elif again, let's say b1 is greater than a1. So in this I'll be printing b1. So on executing, you'll be able to see that b1 is being printed. So since b1 is greater, now it is checking the first condition, a1 equal to b1. So this is false, that's why this statement will be skipped, it will not be executed as this if condition is false. Now it will check the second if condition, which is written as elif. So it will check this, a1 greater than b1, a1 is 15, b1 is 20, so it is false, of course. That's why again the block of statements under this condition will not be executed, therefore this print statement will not be executed. Now it will check the third condition, which is again after we have written it after elif. So it will check this third condition, b1 greater than a1, so 20 is greater than 15. So since this is true, it will print b1. Now whichever condition is true, it will execute those blocks, and it will then come outside the if completely if else statement. So for example, if I write over here not equal to, so I'm just writing not equal. So when I run it now, it will print not equal. Now if you observe over here, so this condition is true, we already know that since they are not equal, but this condition is also true, b1 is greater than a1. So you might think that this should also be printed and this should also be printed, but that is not the case. So these are individual conditions, but they are interlinked because only one of them will be executed. That is why it is a single if elif else block. So this is one single block and only one condition from this, the first one which is true, that will be executed, then it will be moving outside the block. So in this case, this is the first condition which is true, that's why it will be printing not equal, and then it will completely ignore all the elif statements after it, and if there is an else statement, it will ignore all those and it will completely jump outside this whole block. So that is why only this is printed, even though this condition is true and this condition is also true. So it won't even check this condition. After, as soon as it gets its first true condition, it will execute the block of statements under it, and it will exit the whole bigger block. So this is about if elif. Now we'll go back to the presentation. So now we have the else condition. So else condition or the else statement is executed when all the other conditions are false. So it is optional to use, just like elif is also optional to use. So else condition is written either after if or either after elif. So this is an example demonstrating how else condition is used. Now if you are writing elif, you have to write it before else, and if you write else condition before elif, you will get an error. So the order of statements go like this: you'll have the if block first, then you'll have the elif block, maybe one or maybe multiple elif blocks, and then you will have the else block. So now in this, only the compulsory one is the if block. Elif and else both are optional. So in this example again, if b is greater than a, we have a print statement. Else if a is equal to b, then we have another print statement, and else we have another print statement. So it will check the first condition first. B is greater than A. So 33 is not greater than 200. That's why this print statement will be skipped. Now it will check the elif condition. Are they both equal? No. So this condition is also false. That is why it will jump to the next condition. Now the next condition does not exist. It is just else. So when all the above conditions are false, else will be executed. So here both the above conditions were false. So this third print statement will be executed. It will say A is greater than B. Now here is another example where we are just writing if and else. We are not using elif. So if again same values of A and B. So if B is greater than A, then we are printing B is greater than A. Else B is not greater than A. Now that also means B can be equal, or it is simply smaller than A. So in this case it is smaller, but the first condition is false. That's why else will be executed. See, all the above conditions which are above else are false, even though it is just one condition over here. So that is why else will be invoked, else is executed, and this print statement, the second one, that will be printed. So B is not greater than A will be printed. So okay, before going to shorthand if we'll check the code for this. So let's say we take a variable named marks, and let's say marks equals to 40. So I'll just write a condition: if marks is greater than 90, then print A grade. Elif marks greater than 80, it will print B grade. We can have another Elif marks greater than 70, we can print C grade, and else we print retest required. So if we make the conditions in this way, so again the compiler will check it one by one, the conditions. It will check the first condition first. So marks are not greater than 90, in this case it is just 40. Then it will check the second condition. Again it is not greater than 80. It will jump to the third condition. It is not greater than 70. There is no fourth condition, there is an else statement. And since all the above conditions are false, now the else statement will be executed. The else statement over here, we have written print retest required. That is why the compiler is printing retest required. So it is as simple as that. Now, just like I told you earlier, if I take 100 over here, now 100 is greater than 90, it is greater than 80, it is greater than 70. Now all these three conditions are true, but the compiler will not check all three. It will just check the conditions until it finds a true one. So the first condition here itself is true. That is why it will completely ignore all the other elif and else condition. That is why A grade is printed when the marks are 100, and when the marks are 40 or anything below or equal to 70 also, it will print retest required, because our condition here says marks should be greater than 70, the third condition. Since 70 is not greater than 70, that is why this condition is also false in this case. So retest required will be printed in this. Now we'll go back to the presentation to see shorthand if. So shorthand if, it is used when there is only one condition to execute, and therefore it can be written in the same line. So like you see in this image over here, if A is greater than B, the syntax is the same, then print. So there is a print statement. The syntax is exactly the same, except we are not putting the second statement in the second line. The second statement is in the same line itself. So this is all written in one line, and it is proper syntax. Python will not throw any error. Now similarly, there is shorthand if else also. So you will have one line if else condition with one condition. So this is an example. So if you are having A and B values, so print A if A is greater than B. So it means if A is greater than B, then it will print A, else print B. So over here the placing of if and else is a bit more tricky, because we are used to writing if condition first and then writing the statement which is executed when the if statement, if condition is true. But here we will be writing the statement first, which will be executed, and then the condition will be written. So print A if A is greater than B, else print B. So this might make more sense to you in terms of when you're reading it, like for English language. So when you're reading it as per English language, it makes more sense. Print A if A is greater than B, else print B. So you can read it that way, and that is how it is written in one line for shorthand if else. Now there is also, you can also write multiple conditions, like this is an example for 3 conditions written in the same line. So this is also shorthand if else. Now over here it says print A if A is greater than B, else print equal to if A is equal to B, else print B. So it means A will be printed if A is greater than B, else if A and B are equal, then equal will be printed, and if both of these conditions are false, then B will be printed. So if you are getting confused with this, you might go through it again, you might try it by yourself, or this is not at all required, because it might just complicate your program, and writing simple if, elif and else block is more easy and more readable. However, this is also allowed in Python. That is why we will see both of these by writing code. So first we'll write the shorthand if. Now if 10 is greater than 5, print 10. So it is printing 10. This is the same as writing this, where there is indentation required, but you can also write it in the same line. Even if you remove the space over here, there is no issue because it is still considered as the same. Now similarly for shorthand if and else. So for that, if we are having, so first we have to write the statement which will be executed. So let's say print 10 if 10 is greater than 2, else print 2. Now in this case 10 will be printed. So if I just change the sign over here, 2 should be printed. So in this it will print the lower one, which is 2. So print 10 if 10 is less than 2. 10 is less than 2, that is false. That is why print 10 will not be executed. Now it will go to the else condition. Else condition will be executed regardless of any condition. The only condition for else to be executed, like I have mentioned several times, is the other conditions which are above it should be false. Then else will be executed. So this is shorthand if else, and this is with one condition. Now you can also write it with multiple conditions, like let's say print 10 if 10 is greater than 5, else print 5. Okay, I'll just write 10 over here. Else print equal if 10 is equal to 10, and then else print last. So even though this does not make sense, this is just to explain the logic to you. So over here we are going to print 10 if 10 is greater than 10. So 10 is not greater than 10. I can just take variables over here if you want. Let's say we have already declared marks as 70 over here. So if marks are greater than, let's say, 90, then we want to print A. Else we will print B if marks, let's say, if marks are greater than 80, and else print below 80. So it prints below 80 because our marks is defined over here as 70. So it is going to print A only if marks are above 90, which is false. Then the second condition is if marks are above 80, print B. And then we have the third condition, which is else. So since both the above conditions were false, the else will be executed. Now if I change the value of marks to, let's say, marks equals to 99, so A will be printed. Similarly, if I make it to 79, okay, sorry, yeah, for 79 it will be printed below 80. For 81, B will be printed, right? So that is about shorthand if else. Now we can go back to the presentation to see what's next. So now the nested if. So nested if is basically an if condition inside an if condition. So using if statement inside another if statement, at that point it will be called as nested if. So the inner if statement is executed only if the outer if statement is true. So only when the outer if statement is true, So basically, as you are having a block of statements to execute once a condition is true, in that block of statement you are again giving an if condition. So that is what nested if is. So in this example, if you see, x is given as 41. So the first condition we have here is to check if x is greater than 10, which is true. So it will print above 10, and because you can see indentation over here, so this statement right here, this if statement, the second if statement, it falls under this, the first one, because you can see that there is space given over here, the indentation is uniform, and that is why this if statement is also a part of the block which is executed if the first condition is true. Now after printing above 10 comma, it will check this condition, x is greater than 20. So over here 41 is greater than 20, that is true, so it will print and also above 20, so that will be printed, and the else will not be printed because the if condition was true, and else is only used or else is only executed when all the above conditions are false. So that's why in this scenario above 10 and also above 20 will be printed. So that is how nested if is, and to understand it as a flowchart, so you start with statements, you start with an if statement, there is a condition. Now if the condition is true, then you will have another condition. You can also have few statements in between this, like we just had over here, we had a print statement. So if the condition is true, you can have statements and then you will have another condition, or you can directly have another condition, either of these work. And then if the nested condition is true, you will have the body of nested if. In this example, the body of nested if contained a print statement which said and also above 20. So this is the body of the nested if over here, and if it is false, then there is the body of nested else. In this case it is print not above 20, this is the body of nested else. And if the first condition, the initial condition, if that is false, then it will directly go to the body of else or to the uh, other statements in the program, so whichever comes first. So in this case we have no else statement for the outer if condition, that is why it will continue with the program, and if there is no other line it will be terminated, and the statements below if will be executed and the program will end. So that is about nested if. So we'll also see the pass statement, and then we can see nested if as well as the pass statement in the form of code. So pass statement is used when we want to leave the if condition or the block in the if condition empty. So in Python, the if statement cannot be empty. So it cannot be empty, it means that you have to execute some line of code under the if condition if that is true. So in case if statement has no content, so it might be possible that you have a situation where the if statement will have no condition, I mean no statements at all. So at that point of time you can use the pass statement, so to avoid getting any error. So in this case, if we have the first if condition says if x equal to 3 pass, else it will print x is not equal to 3. So we have taken the value of x as 3, therefore uh, this code will be terminated without printing anything. This execution will happen if condition is true, pass statement will be executed, which means that there will be no error and there will be nothing to print as well. So this program will be terminated without printing anything. So that is what pass statement is. Now we can see this and the nested if in form of code. So we can take a few variables, like let's say price. So let's put 5,000. Then we can add something like strength as let's say 100, and we can add another variable like let's say color equals to red. So if price is greater than 2000, then you can simply pass. Elif price is less than 1000, then you can also have the nested if condition over here. So in the example I showed in the presentation, it was right under if statement, but you can also have the nested if inside the elif. So if price is less than 1000, and you also want to check maybe if strength is greater than 50, then okay, we actually do not need the third variable. We can use it, but in this example I won't be using it. So then let's say print good buy. So it is a good buy or something like buy it, and then else, or you can also write elif strength is greater than equal to 50, then print not bad, or you can write strength is greater than 25, and else you can print bad strength, and over here another else, print decent price. Okay, so I have to give the colon over here and over here. So nothing is executed, nothing is printed over here. Now just to give you clarity, I'm adding a bit of spaces over here. So this is how it is. We have an if condition. If price is greater than 2000, it is simply going to pass. So let's say if there is a product and if the price is above 2000, you are not even interested in looking at it. So that's why you will just pass, you will just simply leave it, nothing will be checked after that. Since we have put the price as 5000, which is greater than 2000, it will simply pass. So that is how pass statement is used. Now let's say if I put the price as 1500, now decent price is printed. So that means it will first check the if condition, if price is greater than 2000. So over here the price is not greater than 2000, so second condition will be checked. If price is less than 1000, it is not. That's why all these, if you see, there is two spaces over here, two spaces over here, and two spaces over here. So it means that this whole is a part of this elif block, and since this condition over here is false, these whole statements will not be executed, and the compiler will move on to the to the second elif statement if it exists. If not, it will move on to the else statement. If the else statement also does not exist, it will continue with the lines which are there in the program, in the statements. But we have an else statement over here which says print decent price. That is why decent price is being printed. Now if I change the price to 800, it is below 1000, that's why I want this elif to be executed. So like if the price is 800, this will be false, it will check the second. Now this is true. Now it comes to the nested if conditions. So it will check if strength is greater than 50. So we have strength as 100. So since 100 is greater than 50, it will be printing by it. Now if I change the strength to something like 30, so it will print not bad because the price is not changed, so this condition is true over here. Now inside that we have the nested condition, strength is greater than 50, false. It checks the second nested elif, strength is greater than 25, it is 30, it is true. So this is not being used, I'm just removing it. So since it is 30 and 30 is greater than 25, that's why not bad will be executed. But if I make it as 20, bad strength will be printed. So this is how the nested if works, and this is how the pass statement also works. Now if I write another if condition over here, okay, I'll just if 5 equal to 5, print 5 equal to 5. Okay, I've put triple equal to. So over here, this if condition, this is a completely different if condition. It's not included in this if else block. Like you can see, there is no space over here. That's why it is not in the nested form for this condition. There is zero space over here. There is zero space over here. So these are two separate statements which are not dependent on each other. Like this is not a part of the upper block. So indentation is also very important. So if I write something like if 100 is greater than, or let's say if price is greater than 1000, or just make it 500, then print greater than 500. Now if I want to write elif, of course I'll be writing it here, but if I want to write nested if, I should be writing it over here. So if price is greater than 900, I'll print greater than 900. Okay, so it is only printing this, and this is the nested if condition. So this will only be executed if the first one is true. So if I put, let's say 600, so it says greater than 500 and greater than, so it says greater than 500 and greater than 600. So these both are being printed because this is a nested if condition, and since the first condition is true, second is also checked. The second is also true over here, that's why second is also executed. Now if I change the price to, let's say 400, so none of these are executed. Even if I say price is greater than 300, this will still not be checked because this is still a part of the nested if condition. Now as soon as I remove the indentation over here, now this becomes an entirely different block. So just by removing the space, you can see that there is a change in the output. As soon as I put space, the output will be removed. But as soon as I remove the two spaces over here, we will get an output. So this happens because now the compiler is considering this one whole as a block, and this is another block. It is not nested if. This is a different if block. So this is how the compiler is considering. That is why it will also check this condition. If it is true, it will be executed this block. If it is false, it will continue with the program. Even if it is true, after executing the print statement, it will continue with the program. So this condition will be checked regardless of what is the outcome of this if condition. So unless you put something like a break or any other statement which will completely exit the program, this statement will be checked for every time by the compiler. So you have to be sure that you are giving proper indentation if you want to do nested if, and if you do not want to do nested if, or if you do not give proper indentation, then the compiler can also consider them as two separate if blocks. So I hope that is clear, and that is it from this video. So we talked about the if else condition, nested if, shorthand if, the pass statement, and we saw it all in the form of the code. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.